So you're hearing a lot about AI and artificial intelligence. It's going to dramatically affect the way that you do business in the not too distant future. We bring on a special guest this week to talk about it, and you're not going to want to miss it. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to the Student of Money podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Niemeyer. The mission of Student of Money is to connect listeners like you to a community of like-minded individuals to help you achieve your goal of financial freedom through entrepreneurship, investing, real estate, and personal development. This is episode 45. All right, guys, on this week's show, we bring back Jared Lutz, who's the CEO of DCAP Digital Assets out of Southern California. Last time we talked to Jared about tokenization and NFTs, and this time we're going to talk to him about AI, or artificial intelligence. Unless you've been hanging out under a rock, you've probably heard about OpenAI's ChatGPT. Players like Microsoft and Google are also in this space. This is a technology that's dramatically going to change how you do business, so you're not going to want to miss it. Let's check it out. Jared Lutz, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, hey,
I'm very happy to be here.
You're my first guest that's been on the show twice now. So
all right, that's great.
This is like
that's
Saturday Night Live, where you're going to be a 5-timer or a 7-timer, or
that's awesome.
host. Yeah,
yeah. No,
so
I really appreciated building out the relationship and connecting just through like commenting in similar groups that we're in. It's awesome.
Yeah, you and me both comment a lot on some of those, and it's kind of funny. Yeah, kind of building that online relationship there. So last time I had you on the show, we were talking about tokenization. We talked about what was the
blockchain?
Yeah, the
sure.
blockchain,
Yeah.
basically the blockchain and tokenization. So if for our listeners and viewers, if you haven't listened to that, you may want to go check that out. So Jared's kind of my go-to guy on some of these new technologies. You're a software company, correct? Essentially.
Yeah. We're a software development company. We're morphing into something right now, something else, but software development is always going to be a core focus for our company.
And you do software development for people like me that are syndicators in real estate. You're heavy in the real estate space. You were recently just on Ken McElroy's podcast, and tell me a little bit about that, because I love Ken, and you said it was a great experience.
Yeah, Kenny, he really has like a very like positive, palpable energy like in his whole company. Like you walk into this massive warehouse, because he's a very big deal, and he's got all these employees, and it's just really just an experience to go in there and then go into a studio and meet all of his staff, and they're all, you can feel that they all embody his culture. And because I really believe that culture is driven from top down. So it really is a testament to him in his character. And I don't know him like well at all. I just went out there for the show, but I've been in a lot of companies, and you can sort of feel that energy when you walk in, and when you see that all the employees embody it too, exactly where it's coming from. It's coming from Kenny, and he's brilliant. He's so smart in specifically this space. So that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I think, and of course he's a Rich Dad advisor with Robert Kiyosaki, and the Rich Dad company is kind of that same way. They lead out there. Like one of the things is, I know Robert Kiyosaki, they don't offer like a 401k if you work with this company, because he wants people to, he's not a big believer in those types of things. So he wants people that are working for them to go out and buy real estate, and he helps them and go do those things. So it's definitely leadership from the top down, and not only what they talk about, they what they preach, they go out and do it. And so I can totally see that. So I've met Ken a few times through some of the Rich Dad and the Real Estate Guys radio, some of their events, and sit down and had lunch and stuff. And he's also a constant learner and a constant student. So even when he's a speaker at those events, you could see him in the back of the room taking notes. And he's very approachable and answers a lot of questions. But he's there to learn, just like everybody else. So again, it's a great guy. Um,
Yeah, I always know, like, yeah, I've been doing more and more interviews lately, and I always know who's a learner and who's just like working to work essentially. Because I'll go in interviews where like they'll have predetermined like screen questions, and where it just lacks a certain genuineness, right? Like before
yeah,
this, we didn't have a conversation. Like I knew that you want to talk about AI, but that was it, right? So it leads to like a lot more, and Kenny is the same way. Like it leads to a lot more of like a genuine conversation, which is where like you organically are just absorbing information and learning rather than coming to the table with like an agenda.
yeah, yeah. I think we get some of our best content, and it just flows better too if it's
A hundred
just
percent.
100% on the fly, and we can dig deeper into issues that we get into. Um, so the topic for today's show is AI, or artificial intelligence, and really why it's important and why we're looking at it. So before we started recording the show, we were talking about how AI and virtual assistants, which we obviously want to get into. But, AI has really been in the news a lot. People are talking about it. The companies that are doing it, Google's doing it, Microsoft's doing it. And then what's the OpenAI.com has their chat GPT, which they're going from apparently from version 3 to version 4. I was also online looking at, they have one that does like graphics art. It's called,
Hmm.
was it Dolly?
Yeah,
And
Dolly. Dolly was
Doll,
one of the earlier ones that was released before Chat GPT.
yeah. And then I guess there's a 2.0 on that coming up. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
curious about, hey, we were talking about how I don't, not very good at design. I was like, maybe that thing can create a logo for me. And
Yeah,
I actually uploaded my logo and tried to get it to do refinements on it. But they say that the Dolly is not really good at text. It's good at images.
the 2.0 is uh that's the major advancement on the this next variation coming out is,
Awesome.
yeah, where like with text it's a lot easier. Also can look at an image and then provide text, so not just you talking to it and having it draw it out, but also looking at an image and being able to explain it in text.
Wow.
But so because Dolly is visual and GPT is text,
It's all text.
or not GPT, Chat GPT specifically. These are all open AI. And like when you said Microsoft, so Microsoft acquired uh or uh I think they bought 51% of OpenAI, 49 or 51
Really? Okay.
for $10 billion.
Because I see
So
they're calling their AI Azure, and then they're talking about like they call it a lot of their stuff. They're calling like the Copilot. So like the Office Copilot
mhm.
is their
Yeah,
AI.
and that's
And,
all powered by OpenAI, like
right? Okay.
the
And
or ChatGPT.
and then Google's you calls theirs Bard.
Hmm.
And I'm not all sure who's all in that space, but those are some of the big players. And but I know OpenAI is the one that's getting all of the media and the attention right now. And I've definitely played with it, and I've used it to help do some of the descriptions on my YouTube videos. It's
Hmm.
like because again, I'm like, okay, how do I need something creative in here? So I just go out there and ask it to hey, create a description for my, give me 100 word or 1,000 word or whatever it does in this text, and it kicks it out, and I just copy paste and pull it over.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a phenomenal tool. I caution using it that way specifically
okay.
because quite often ChatGPT is incorrect, and you won't even know when it's incorrect because it'll just make information up. And
Yeah.
like in testing, I we have an agent, we call it Agent Verity. Verityblock is our company that is doing a lot of the AI stuff. And so Agent Verity is a auto GPT, which is where it can create its own tasks. And so I asked it to find me a 15, or sorry, like a 3,000 square foot home in Poway, California, and it started listing off all these homes, and it started creating other tasks to find an agent for me to buy some of these properties. And when you look up these properties, they don't exist. And when you look up the agents, they don't exist. And it's just making all this stuff up because it's trying to give you an answer. So you have to actually like go in. So ChatGPT does this all the time because it's taking its information off the internet, and you don't always know exactly where on the internet it's taking it from. So as a language model, it's phenomenal, but being able to verify the data that it's calling from is crucial. So like as we're entering this space where you have a lot of people like me that are developing on top of these language models, it's really important that you know where the data is coming from, and that it's not just pulling it from Wikipedia or from some like obscure website. That's why we call the company Verity, because Verity means truth. So so truth and data is a core focus for us.
Yeah, I think the the OpenAI website calls it hallucinating answers. That you got to
Hmm.
be careful because they can it's hallucinating, and that
Yeah.
sometimes they're wrong answers. And I'm like, well, yeah, how do they fix that? Because that's obviously an issue.
you, you you
I've
train
also
it.
asked it for like legal language for contracts, and it'll sometimes it'll do it, and sometimes it'll say, yeah, we're not supposed to give legal advice, and we can't give you legal advice. And
Hmm.
but I'll be like, hey, can you write in a clause or something on a contract, and it'll give me the language for it.
Yeah.
So I think so. You kind of touched on the virtual assistants. So I've used Fiverr a lot to hire independent contractors to do work for me, and I've hired them to basically convert PDFs into text. I've done it for logo design. You can pretty much hire somebody on Fiverr to do just about anything out there, and they turn that stuff around pretty quick. And then that's a space where I could see AI totally taking over is on some of this mundane work, or as a virtual assistant that you were alluding to, where, hey, go out and find me this, this, and this, and this. But in order to be that virtual assistant, it's going to have to be more accurate, correct?
Yeah. So and that's all about training the data. Okay. So like uh you ask it a question and you see that it gives you an incorrect answer, and it could be like minorly incorrect or just like a hallucination, just like an outright lie,
Mhm.
or misinformation. Which, by the way, misinformation from AI is the next big serious, very serious concern, because again, people won't be able to tell if it's wrong or not. So with training the data, you essentially go in and you say when the user has this prompt or anything related to this prompt, this is the ideal answer, right? So like with legal, it's perfect because like legal is very structured, and there isn't a lot of variation. There can be variation with the interpretation of it, but when you're talking about like regulatory compliance and a lot of these complexities that are in the fund world, those are pretty like cut and dry. And
Mhm.
so training a model, an AI model on that is very, very useful, um, especially for reading documents, right? So like we will train an AI where we'll say, a, AI, this is you. You are you're a document interpreter. That's your character. Never break character. Your job is to only provide answers that are in this document that I give you. And if the answer is not in the document, then don't make anything up. Say, that's, I don't know, right? Or whatever. Like you can have it say whatever. That's training it, right? That's giving it a very specific scope. and telling it, giving it guidance to the accurate answers, which is why it's important to know when you're interfacing with an AI, where are they getting their data from? You know, if they're
Yeah.
getting their data straight from the internet, that's going to be very bad. But if you say, oh, this AI is created by Premier Law Group, well, now you know, like, and you can trust that because they have indexed all of their personal business, legal opinions, information, or data sets that they know to be true. So you don't have to be concerned.
And you're able to do that. You're able to interface with that OpenAI because they have an API for developers like yourself, correct? Is that how
Yeah,
you do it?
yeah.
Basically,
Most of my job is run through APIs. So like our tech stack is somewhere around like 36 different technologies, and a lot of them run through different APIs, which is just a way for these applications to interface with one another, like transfer data and information.
right, right.
So I use their API. Like I'll take a data set and vectorize it, and it'll be like all of these different types of responses that like you ask the AI, what is a 506b fund, right? And
Hmm.
what it's going to do is the chat GPT with the API, is that's the language model, is going to read my data set and interpret it and put it into normal everyday language. And that's the really cool user interface that people are experiencing.
Hmm. So I wonder when you talk about misinformation and it's just going to give wrong information, or maybe they talk on there that they're not going to allow it to do anything that would cause violence, or it's like so somebody is actually kind of setting these parameters. And what you're telling me is you can take this core engine and you can set those parameters to whatever you want. So maybe
You
your
can set
version of
the
the AI can do something that another ones won't because they've already said, this is my box. And then you're kind of saying, well, this is my reality in my box over here.
Yeah, that's very much how, like, AIs should
Hmm.
not be general for the most part. They should be very specific in scope, like for what they're doing. That's where they're going to be most impactful, right? So like if you are having an AI where you're training it to be your personal assistant, you have to train that thing on, really, if you want it to be like to its maximum effectiveness, you want that AI listening to all your phone calls, screening all your text messages, screening all your emails, every bit of communication and data that comes your way, you're
Yeah.
going to want inside of that AI if it's your personal assistant. Really, how it's going to work is that your personal assistant AI is really going to be built up by, let's say, like 5 or 10 different AIs that are all very specific, right? So like this, you'll have one AI that is all about your investment data. That's the only thing it reads. Like it knows that. And then you'll have another AI that's all about your social media, and it collects all of that. Or, so they're very purposeful. And so when you're dealing with what appears to be your core AI, what that bot is doing is really interfacing with all these other AIs that are specifically paired to you, like linked to you. So it from a data structure, it's more accurate than combining all of these into a single ledger like data set, if
So
that
where
made
do you
sense.
where do you see this going in the near future for business owners and entrepreneurs, and where's the opportunity, and why are we talking about this on our show? Because we're talking about financial freedom, wealth building, real estate. Obviously, the big companies are going to be able to use this, but how is the typical business owner or investor going to be able to take advantage of this in either in the short term or the long term? Where do you see this going?
uh I'm trying to frame this, if I want to make this scary or not. I think that I don't think that we are remotely prepared for how dramatic of a shift this is going to have. For entrepreneurs, it's going to be like a gold rush. You're going to see more entrepreneurs in this next phase than I think we have really ever seen. And what I've noticed about myself as an entrepreneur that's different from other entrepreneurs, which is also a problem, but which has gotten me to the point I'm at right now, which is I have the entrepreneur spirit. I can build a company, but I can also like build the product myself, right? Like normally you have like the entrepreneur is like the idea person
Yeah.
in the visionary, but they need partners. And so
Mhm.
I have been able to do both sides of those equations, which has kind of led me to this point, which I also then realized that like really to be an effective entrepreneur, I need a team
Yeah.
and where like people have these other core competencies because then now I can really dive into my core competency. The but with AI, you're really gonna people who are visionaries that don't have the capability to like code software or code a website or
Yeah.
do all this, they'll be able to. Like one man, two person teams will be able to do the effectiveness of 10, 15,
Multiple
20
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leveraging, we talk about employees, you're leveraging other people's time to build the business. And
And
I'm
much
right
more
with you. And
effective too.
I have the exact same problem in that, um, yeah, I've been doing too much myself and pretty much have wearing all the hats because I have a problem, one, finding the people that want to do that and partner with me, but then two, just to be at my standard on how I want it done and how, yeah, I have what my vision is. So I'm seeing AI as being, hey, that virtual assistant that I get to train and I get to basically program and duplicate myself in one function or way like that, where it's AI, it's not an employee. It doesn't take
Yeah.
vacations, it doesn't go on leave, or it doesn't complain about how much you're going to pay for it or whatever it may be. It's like
Yeah.
this perfect employee kind of thing.
It is, and I'll tell you how we're using it, like to give like a real world example, and I can actually show you our beta if you want me to do that, like share screen or something. But to your point, like that was one of I was smiling when you were talking because I struggled with that a lot, and I'm in the middle of this deal right now that I've been working on for a long time, and we're going to be announcing it pretty soon. It's this partnership, and in that process, I I had to learn how to let go of control because that's
Hmm.
sort of like what you're talking about, right? Like
Yeah.
like making sure that you have the quality that you want and that it aligns with your vision. And what we're building right now is just way too big to have that mindset. And I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, and I'm just now coming to this realization that I can't do everything. And even with my ability to build out all of these different AIs, this experience that I had building out this partnership with real people and learning from them and learning what their experiences are that are different from mine, and sharing mine with theirs, and really seeing that like I can let go of that control. And because the one big thing that a human partner uh can't, like that AI can't give me, is this like genuine connection and collaboration over a shared vision, and how expansive that can be.
Yeah.
The AI is only going to give me what I'm asking it for, versus like organically having a conversation and generating these ideas and having this shared vision. I just that to me, I can't feel like I can't see that I can have that feeling with AI. But what AI can do is like, now I don't need $100 million to launch a tech company. I need 10, because that's how powerful the AI is. Like it allows us to scale an enormous multiple. Like, so we don't need as much money to build
Yeah.
huge global applications.
Yeah. We were just, we both know the same securities attorney, and they were talking about how each PPM and all those partnership agreements have to be custom built for your business, and they cost thousands of dollars to do these things. And I can just totally see where, hey, I've got my business thesis. Here's my investment thesis. This is exactly what I'm doing. I could see AI writing an agreement or a PPM or basically taking that big knowledge base and pulling out all of the things that it needs that totally fits your business and being able to create that within minutes.
That,
Um,
yeah. So that is one of the first applications that we're building out in this partnership. And a way to visualize it is you and I are having a conversation. Let's say your Premier Law Group, right? Because that's who
yeah,
you were
yeah,
referencing.
yeah,
And I'm the client. I have my own AI that's listening to me, indexing everything I'm saying. You have your own AI that's listening to you, indexing everything you're saying. While we're having a live conversation, it's recording it and indexing it into its own data sets. While
yeah,
we're having this conversation, our two AIs are having a conversation live and actually building out the PPM.
yeah.
While as long as you fed in all the other data about like the deal and disclosures or whatever,
Hmm.
uh it at the end of our meeting, and as long as the AI has received all of the data, external data outside of our conversation, you could literally just click play and that PPM is going to be done within a minute or two.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean that that PPM is deployable, right? We're still having that go through
yeah,
and be reviewed and scrutinized. We're just not really at that place yet where we
yeah.
feel like we can just generate this document and let it go with no review. But
There's
it'll take a $20,000 contract and drop it down to five.
Right, right, because you're just doing a review. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know the law firms just have a template for these, and then they modify the templates to fit. And so the question last night on the Zoom call they had last night is there a location on the internet that I can go out and get copies of PPMs to digest and read? And the answer is yeah. Every time you go,
The
um,
SEC.
that you go to the SEC, you go to the Edgar's
Mm-hmm.
database, which is out there, because every time someone has to file these, it's on it's public database that anyone can have access to. It's called Edgar's, and
Mm-hmm.
you can just go out there and look for the last 60 days, all of the private placements and documentation that everyone has put out there. And like I do it with Grant Cardone stuff. I go out to Grant Cardone's and I get copies of all of his Reg A pluses all the time, and I just sit there and read through them. And it's funny, when I'll read through them, I'll find spelling errors.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find a lot of errors on them, because I know that they're just cookie cutter templates that people are throwing together, and they haven't really digested it and read. No one reads them line by line. Now I
Yeah.
do. I'm kind of that crazy person where I will go through and dissect them and read them. But what I'm thinking of is, you're going to take this online Edgar's database of all of these private placements over the last 30 years, and you're going to feed them through some kind of AI model. And it's going to say, well, here's all the pertinent information, and pull this all together and customize it for your fund.
Yeah. So the AI doesn't really work like that. Although that's like big data. It
Yeah.
goes off of a perfect set. Okay. So you think of all the variations in a deal, whether it's on the deal structure side, so it's a 506C, 506B, or let's say like a Reg A. And then you look at the asset type and you look at the location. So like all the variables in it, um every single deal that's similar enough, like let's say it's
Yeah.
90% similar, we'll have one data set that it's referencing and it's saying this is the best data set. But you can leverage it in a bunch of different ways, like the way that you were saying it, where you could say, all right, now look at all of the PPMs that are like student family housing or
Hmm.
student housing, and extrapolate all of the disclosures and then insert those disclosures into this document or whatever. So you still can take big data, but the way AI typically works is there is a perfect completion to the prompt, and it's referencing that one data set. So like when that prompt should be very specific, like student housing in Florida, um, whatever it is,
Right.
and in as the if changes need to be made to that perfect model, you're making it to that perfect model. You're not adding on to it. Like you're not saying reference this document, then this document, and then this one.
Yeah.
That might be a little complicated.
And the websites, we've got these chat bots on websites now where you can click on them and you can talk, and and it'll send off a response to me that, hey, somebody's inquired on this, and you can automate answers. For Christmas I got an Alexa, and I got one of the fancy ones that's got the screens, and I use it for all my scheduling now. Like, an hour before the Zoom call, Alexa says, hey Jeff, in an hour you've got a Zoom call with Jared. And I'm like, man, when they start figuring out the Alexas of the world and Siris on your phone, and they start tying that into a smarter AI, that's going to be extremely useful.
Yeah,
You
we've
might even have
actually.
AI like answer a phone call for you.
So I haven't done this, but I've been following someone who's doing this, but where they actually tapped into Siri, and they connected Siri with their AI,
Yeah.
and they tell Siri, uh like build me this website and like this login page or whatever, and then the bot starts coding the website and deploys it. Like it's fascinating. That is absolutely coming very, very, very soon. So like our agent Verity, you can ask her to do something like, hey, find me a deal, structure it as like find me this specific deal, structure it as a 506c, and create a marketing plan to raise capital for the selected property. And
Hmm.
and you just set that as its goal, and it'll just create its own tasks and go on its own and really complete the whole thing. It's a That's largely how we're using it with workflows, right? So we are curating very specific workflows on how to get through deals, from like
Hmm.
finding the property, analyzing the property, and then marketing it, generating all the legal documents. It's a full scope workflow where users can go to our platform, and they don't have to be concerned that they're going to break the law. They don't have to be concerned that they are increasing the liabilities in any certain way. As long as they operate within the curated workflow, they are going to be protected from like out of sight, out of mind. They don't even have to think about it.
There's going to be some killer app out there or something that integrates it, and it's just going to, yeah, take off. I think right now it's just everybody's playing with it, trying to figure out what its capabilities are. How can we integrate it with these APIs? And then, it's just, so at some point in time, it's going to be a mass adoption. There's going to be that
Do you
killer
want to
app.
see it? Like, do I have screen sharing capability? I
Yeah,
can show you this thing.
let me see if I can do that here. Share screen, I think.
Okay.
Wow.
So, all right. Sorry, this is the backend server, but we'll go into. So we got this up and going about a week ago, and we'll call this like find a deal, and then we'll set the goal to be um, find a student housing property. And I feel like I'm wording this incorrectly, but form a real estate syndication as a 506c, and then create a business plan to generate investments or to solicit.
And then create a business plan to.
All right. And then we deploy the agent. And so it's got its goal. And now it's going to start all these tasks. It's creating its own tasks. So conduct market research to identify potential student housing properties and their feasibility as a real estate syndication, analyze financial data and projections to determine the necessary investment. And now it's like going through and actually like doing the research, adding more tasks, and it'll keep on going forever until it feels like it has accomplished its task. So
All
this
right,
is
I have
all it.
issue with the word "feels like" when it feels like it.
Yeah. Well, oh, so we're not. This is beta. Okay, so because like it'll just continue to like identify potential investors or investment groups who may be interested. It'll go for quite a while depending on how like extensive it is. We're not operating like this. This is very much our beta because this is connected to the internet. So it's actually connected to a Google search API. And we like you could just see it executing these various
Yeah.
different tasks.
So,
Um
so when
so
you were on
we
Ken's show and you was talking about how you were tied into so many of these other, your technology stack. You were talking to them about your technology stack and where you've got you're pulling on all of these other technology companies in the valley, right? You were talking about how what happens if the bank goes down and all. Now you just lost this piece in your technology stack.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're able to take you're when so something like that with AI, you're using all of these APIs from all these other developers and tying into all of their technologies, right? And all their databases on the back end.
Mhm.
So I mean your AI is kind of running it, but then it also has access to tie into these other APIs. So
Well,
it's
just because it's being delivered by the AI doesn't mean that that you're that the AI is actually doing it. Like one of the user interfaces that we're going for is where you're talking to the AI, you're saying, "Hey, what investors do I have to reach out to this week? Like I've got this deal. Show me my list of investors." So we have a software that already visualizes that, right? So like, but you're talking to the AI. So if you tell the AI to show you your list of investors, that's on the right side of the screen. On the left side of the screen, a table just appears, right? And now
Mhm.
you can see all the investors that you have to talk to. And uh that right there, that's not the AI referencing that at all. Like the AI actually, it feels like it because that's the user experience that the AI
Mhm.
is doing this. But really in the code, what's happening is you're telling the AI to do something and the AI is saying, okay, call this table. So it's not visualizing the table, it's not like reading that table unless you tell it to.
Yeah.
It's visual, it's just saying call this table, which is not the language model, and the AI isn't in that process really, unless you then say, okay, write me a 5 sentence like plan to like address these people, or reach out to these people and write them an email. Now the AI is coming into play there, but there will be several instances in our user interface where it feels like it's the AI, but it's really not. It's really just calling a data set that's internal to our program
Yeah.
or like our application.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But it's super cool stuff. And so like with the big thing to what I was talking about on Ken's show in with what you were referencing, that was a fear that I have for Silicon Valley companies that are still being affected right now, and all
Yeah.
these other banks that are going under, is that if these companies lose funding, there could be an API that breaks, and that's going to affect all of their customers. So it's really important for people that are in my position to ensure that, one, you're using companies, like if you're using a company's tech stack, like a portion of it, like with an API, that you're using a company that is going to be resilient to like banks failing, which
Mm-hmm. It's
is
gonna be
kind of a
around.
difficult, yeah. And then really having a redundancy plan. So like to say, okay, if Google search goes down, right? If that misfires, then in the code you say, all right, use Bing or Yahoo or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like you can still get the search function done in that example, because you have a redundancy. And so yeah, I guess eventually the whole platform could break if Google goes down and Yahoo goes down and Bing goes down. If that happens, we have like way bigger issues than like a software's API misfiring.
Yeah.
But it's just ensuring that like you have a backup plan, especially on like the data side. So like if you have a server that fails, you have a backup plan. Like you have another server that is constantly copying that server, and so if
Mm-hmm.
that server fails, you can just redirect all of your resources to this other server.
Yeah, that's why they build data centers all over, and there's a lot of mirroring and cloning and things of that. So if one drops out and there's caching, so
Hmm.
yeah, they've all got that
Exactly.
taken care of. So that's my previous world in IT and doing server farms and all of that. I had an issue with a data center that talked about if they lost electricity for long periods of time, they had backup generators, and then they had contracts with companies to have diesel delivered in the event of a hurricane or whatever it may be. And I'd be like, well, that's great that you could tell people that you've got a backup generator and you got a contract for people to deliver diesel, but what happens if that company that you got the contract with can't deliver or can't, because
Yeah.
they're under the exact same problems you're under. So you're going to run out of diesel fuel and you're going to run out of power. But
And this is where blockchain really comes in big, because you're talking about a server, or even like a server farm where they're all on the same location. This is defeated really by cloud computing, because like you really can, that happening, that in the last 10 years, like those situations would be very rare to happen, because like you can uh you can call different servers from all across the world, right? Like
right.
you can redeploy across the world. So
Yeah.
natural disasters is pretty rare, but where it would shut down somebody on a cloud infrastructure. But with blockchain, instead of having one server that has all your information, you have a bunch of servers that
Yeah.
have your information that are validating it. So like if one goes down, you would have to have like for Bitcoin to, let's say, crash on that level with the
Right.
server, you would have to have thousands and thousands of nodes.
It's
Uh,
decentralized. Yeah.
yeah, it's
And they have all
distributed.
verified.
Is
It's
Yeah,
distributed. It's almost
yeah.
like a RAID array on a server where you've got the data scattered across multiple drives.
Hmm.
So if one drive fails, the other drives can be rebuilt. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So like
so
our blockchain isn't decentralized. Like we're not ready to go into a decentralized environment with all the complexities within the regulatory framework. Um, but it's distributed, right? So
yeah,
so ours is very much centralized. We know all the players. We know who there's no you can't be anonymous on our platform, because you can't invest in funds anonymously like that. I mean, you could
right.
through various LLCs and sort of like mask it. But so for us, not decentralized but distributed.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's really interesting, and there's going to be people that are be like, "There's no way I'm going to jump into that technology," and there's going to be adopters that take it and say, "Oh, you're missing out if you're not."
You won't
Um,
have a choice.
you're
Yeah.
not well, yeah, and some people aren't going to have a choice. It's like my mother-in-law
Are
that
you talking about blockchain, or are you talking about AI?
I'm talking about both, but I'm talking
Yeah.
definitely about AI now. But my mother-in-law would never doesn't have a credit card, right? Refuses to order on Amazon
Hmm.
online, and goes to a hotel and wants to pay in cash, and they won't accept cash. You have to use a
Hmm.
credit card now to book a
Yeah.
hotel room. So we have to do all of her ordering for her on our cards, and then she pays us in cash. because she doesn't trust, to trust the system and credit cards and all of this, and she refuses to do auto pay on her bills, right? So there's
Yeah.
always going to be that percentage of population that just will not participate in the technology, even though it's here and it's going to radically change. Just like, if the um, Federal Reserve ever really does get out a digital dollar and forces everybody to basically get rid of their paper dollars and go all digital, this world is coming, and you're going to have to adapt. And there's definite benefits, especially as a business owner, on how to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
And so you have
Well,
to be familiar with it because it's coming.
yeah. In especially in our world of fund management and real estate, it's going to be a very it's going to shock this industry to its core, because the sole reason why I came into real estate was because I had highlighted it, like I had identified real estate as being radically, using that word again, radically antiquated technology,
Yeah.
and where someone with my background can come in and really just look like a superhero. Like, you put me in another industry and I'm just like an average person. You put me in real estate and my skills look incredibly advanced. I'm definitely not trying to devalue my value of work, but that's just how it is because it's so antiquated here.
Yeah.
And I think we're about a generation and a half away from people from a really large like wealth transfer to so let's say you've got people who are like in their 70s, 80s, whatever. They're going to be passing down through trust or however they structure their estate to their children and their children's children. And now that wealth is being transferred to people who grew up on computers, who don't know how to interface this old antiquated way. And with AI, so as you're having that happen with the advancement of AI and blockchain, it's going to leap decades of technology. So it's going to be for the real estate industry specifically, it's going to be jarring. um, but I think the transition has been seeming pretty smooth lately, especially with portals becoming more frequent and used across syndications, and just like having a digital interface, and the way that we're reaching investors is very much done in a digital way. So that transition has been slowly happening.
Yeah, and using DocuSign to sign contracts and having
Hmm.
a digital signature on a contract, that kind of blew me away. And I'm like, has anybody ever really like debated this in a court of law?
Some
That
people won't do it. Yeah,
you
like
know,
some people still won't do it. Some people still won't wire money. Like, they will only send checks.
write checks.
Yeah. So I think there's always going to be a level of that for sure, but real estate absolutely is going through a massive technological change right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to be here to be a part of it. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, hey, we're coming up on about an hour, so we should probably think about wrapping it up. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to touch on?
I'm just here
Maybe
to answer
specifically more,
questions.
you want to tell us more about what you're doing in your business and
Um, we are doing something incredibly awesome. I am gonna try to be super vague about it because uh we we're just finalizing this partnership that we've been working on for a long time, and it has been the experience of my life to come into this world that I didn't know that well, like this syndication world, and just dive into it and consume everything and meet everybody, like you and Kenny and Mauricio and Bethany and their team, and all these other various people that I've that's really kind of like I've immersed myself in this world. So the platform that we are building and that we're going to announce here pretty soon is going to be a very safe place for investors to come in to find deals, to manage deals, where they don't need to be concerned that the sponsor that they're talking to is shady or whatnot. Like all of our people are vetted, all of our information is vetted, the data is vetted. We're really focused on building a community where we can teach people about wealth creation, that and largely people that wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise, right? Like, where typically like these resources and tools have only been available for the wealthy, and to be able to make that impact on a lower level with like people in the military or teachers or police officers or general workforce individuals that aren't accredited, and teach them about wealth creation and how to get accredited when you don't have like a ton of money. I could go on and on about like this platform that we're launching. It's very exciting, and it's powered by AI and blockchain specifically, right? So blockchain is what brings truth to our data. AI is the user interface that helps people stay in compliance with the law, helps them find deals, analyze deals, find investors. Really, we're using the technology to enhance human connection, right? So let our platform do all the nitty gritty task related stuff, so that your time is freed up, so that you can communicate more effectively with investors, or connect with investors, or connect with other syndicators, or learn, right? And be educated, and continually go after that, and grow yourself with the community. So I feel like I need like a speechwriter to like concisely put that down into like 5 sentences.
You need AI to put that down. No.
But yeah, no, it's really exciting. I think we're gonna have some news here in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Awesome. And then,
Yeah.
so where is this going to be announced at, or what's your website? How do they get a hold of you?
So you can see where we're at with our AI and with Verity at verityblock.ai. So verityblock.ai, and you can sign up there. You can check out the community. You can interface with our AI right now on there. And that's where most of the announcements will happen. Also, you can follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm always happy to have a conversation and answer any questions.
Yeah, and you're very active in the online community. So I said I
I
see
try
your,
to be.
yeah, I see your stuff
It's
all the
on one of
time.
my it's on one of my 15 screens at any given time. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Jared, I think we'll call her quits for now, and I'm sure I'll probably be talking to you again. So you're going to have to be a reoccurring theme on the
I
Student of Money
am always
podcast. So
happy to.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. All
Always.
right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right, what did you think of our interview with Jared Lutz about AI? It kind of freaks me out a little bit, but I don't know if that's just from all the Hollywood movies on Terminator and all of those things out there with AI, but I'm telling you, it's coming to the market and it's going to be here before you know it. And it's definitely for real. I've already started to use it. We're already checking it out. And I'm really excited to hear what Jared has coming up in the background that's going to be announced soon, because I know it's going to be awesome. All right, that's all I've got for the show this week. This Sunday, we have our May meetup at the Cedar Rapids Public Library from 2 to 4 p.m. at Beams Auditorium. We're going to be talking about syndication and how to use OPM, or other people's money, to scale and go full-time as a real estate investor. So if you're in Eastern Iowa, you're going to want to check that out. If you're not in Eastern Iowa, make sure you get out to our website at studentofmoney.org, click like and subscribe, listen to our podcast, check out our YouTube channel for all of our awesome content. So, that's all I've got this week. I will see you next week right here at Student of Money. Talk to you later.